Hello, ladies. This podcast is designed exclusively for you. This is Her Talk Show, where we dive into inspiring thoughts, ideas, and stories, all with one purpose: to empower and uplift women like you. I am Sabrina Victoria, your host and guide on this journey of self-discovery and growth. I invite you to hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. Together, we are creating a vibrant community of empowered women. Get ready to unleash your brilliance. Her Talk Show starts now.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question: what do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
For this episode of Her Talk Show, we have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at, so we can send you some love in the comments. Either way, if you are watching us, please share this video so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we share every single day. Today, we're talking to an amazing woman, Samantha Lane. She is a reformed workaholic and time management professional with past work in public relations, higher education, and wellness. In 2014, she experienced a life-changing surgery that shifted her perspective on life. After years of juggling full-time careers and passion-based side hustles, Samantha started Origami Day to help others bring balance to their busy lives. Now she is a sought-after speaker and consultant, advocating for work-life balance and teaching others how to achieve it. When she is not helping others make the most of their time, Samantha spends her days enjoying life with her loved ones. Welcome, Samantha.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, girl. I'm so excited about this. I freaking love time management.
Yes.
I am a little overboard sometimes, so I've been told, but it just makes life so much easier in so many areas.
Yes. So, we won't have enough time for me to get on my full soapbox about time management. So we'll just hit the most important stuff in our chat today. But yeah, time management, I think it's one of the most important skills that we never learn in school.
Yes, this is what I say. So I want to dive into the title here. The title is Stop the Sunday Scaries, which I just love. And I've never heard this before until, I dove into, what this even means. Can you explain this concept or this meaning?
Yeah. Unfortunately, someone listening to this podcast is well aware of the Sunday Scaries. Okay. So even if you love your life and you have a great job, oftentimes what happens is we wake up Sunday morning, we're like, what a beautiful day. And then 5 minutes later, we're overcome with crushing anxiety and stress about the new week starting, going back to work, getting kids back to school, all that stuff. And it just has become what is now known as the Sunday Scaries. It's Sunday, just full on meltdown instead of getting to enjoy part of our weekend.
Yes. I think most can relate to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just had a friend text me 2 days ago and said, I'm having the Sunday Scaries. And I was like, okay, we can fix this. But yeah, everyone. And she just came back from vacation and she was having the Sunday Scaries. Maybe it hits you worse in that time.
Yes, 100%. So first of all, let's back up a little bit. How did this even happen? Coming from workaholic, all the things that you were doing, how did you even fall into this? What happened?
Yeah, great question. So I used to be a train wreck of a workaholic. I was great at getting stuff done, but in the most detrimental to myself kind of way. And in 2014, I was diagnosed with a chest wall deformity that had my sternum sitting on my heart and made it difficult for me to breathe. And the doctors were like, hey, you're medically severely deformed, which is what every young woman wants to be labeled with. And they said, we should cut your chest open and we'll fix it. and then you won't be at risk for heart defects down the road. So I was like, okay, sure, that makes sense. So I planned to have my chest cut open and planned to be out of commission for 4 weeks. And unfortunately, 4 weeks later, I was still battling a ton of complications. I lost the ability to use my arm. I was not cleared to drive. Turns out I had a massive staph infection in my chest. So I almost died. It was this whole life-changing experience, an awakening that I needed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like life is about more than just work. I'm doing this way wrong. So then I thought, well, how do I fix it? It's got to be time management, maybe. My husband was a firefighter at the time, so I kind of sealed my fate to work forever. So I was like, I can't just quit work. I have to be able to work and live. So that sent me down this road of learning about time management, seeking out planning tools, finding that none of them worked. So I created my own. And then people said, these tools are great. Can you teach me? So then I started coaching people. They said, this is great. Come teach my team. Then I started doing training. They said, wait a minute, you did all this because you almost died. Come speak at my conference. And here we are.
Wow. Look at that. Are you okay?
Yes. I definitely had a long recovery, did lots of physical therapy, and unfortunately, I wouldn't call the surgery successful. I still have a dented chest. My sternum is still probably sitting on my heart, but I can use my left arm again, so that's great. I'd say I'm better. I'm definitely good enough physically and way better mentally.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Where did the term or the name Origami Day? How did you come up with this brilliance?
So the tool that really saved my life was a folding piece of paper that I created during my recovery. And it is a way to look at my whole week in advance, but then fold it down to only look at one day at a time. And I found that methodology helped me to be proactive, but also not overwhelmed. And I grew up in a Japanese American home. And people never believe me because I'm tall with big blue eyes, but I am a quarter Japanese. And so the culture, so much of the Japanese culture is respecting your ancestors and realizing that we have nothing if not given to us from them. And so this was a way to, the Japanese word for folding paper is origami. And it felt like a way to pay respect to my roots and my heritage, hence Origami Day.
Wow. So does this include like some sort of a planner or calendar, or is it just a piece of paper? Like, how does somebody do this?
So little piece of paper for anyone who could see it. There is the folding weekly planning sheet was the start of everything, was sort of the cornerstone product. And that one I give away to people for free at origamiday.com. They can get that and start today planning their lives a week at a time. And then during my recovery, I realized I needed a little bit more. So then I created a 14-month undated calendar. Then I created a productivity pad. So there's a small list, a small group of products that I sell, but they're all ones that I created during my recovery and very intentional with a lot of psychology behind them, and just not just pretty things. They're also very gender neutral. Like, I love women and I want to support women, but sometimes we don't need to show up in a meeting with a bright pink planner. That's not always going to help us. So all of the designs are a beautiful, rich green color. That is something that women can use as well as men, because men need time management too.
Totally. And that's so funny because you're literally talking to a woman whose colors are bright pink.
Yeah, it was great. I just found, like, when I was younger in the early stages of my career, like, I loved great clothes. I used to work in retail, so I would show up with like high heels and like stylish clothes. And I felt like it immediately would put me in a bad position with certain men. And so it made me maybe a little more tuned in to, you know, there's a whole nother conversation, but just like the things we deal with as women in the workplace. And so I tried to think, how can I address that in a very subtle way through this business, so that I am helping women to be able to focus on the function first and still have something that's truly beautiful, but not one more barrier for us to overcome when it comes to showing up in a professional setting as a female. Beautiful.
That's great. Fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit on, you know, when I was reading your intro, work-life balance, I know that there's a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but thoughts around this work-life balance theory that individuals have. I want to know, what is your, I guess, teaching concept around, you know,
Sure. So I think it's, in a lot of ways, people think work-life balance is not attainable. And so sometimes people can stomach it a little bit more if we call it work-life blend. So balance would indicate that they're both receiving attention, which is what I try to help people do. But also for a lot of us, we live in lifestyle jobs where we're not always working 8 to 5, and life is sometimes happening within 8 to 5. And so I think it helps people to reframe their mindset around the concept of maybe it's more of a blend for me than a balance. Also, that is an indication of sort of my methodology. I teach balance in a simple formula. I think that whether it's success in balance in business and life, it's 2 parts: mindset plus habits. And so helping to make sure our mind is in the right place through things like cognitive reframing, like I just mentioned, or just helping us to stay healthy mentally. So making sure like our mind is around our goals. And then what are those small habits we can put in place to then achieve them? So in the context of Sunday Scaries, when you have a stir up of Sunday Scaries, Sunday at noon, you start freaking out, thinking about, okay, how do I utilize cognitive reframing to think about this differently? Like telling yourself affirmations or reframing the context to say, there's no reason for me to freak out. Like this is something that can be done. And then what habits can you put in place? Maybe you do a brain dump. You take all the things swirling around in your head and you write them on a piece of paper. Or you look at your plan and you're like, don't worry, past me set me up for success. Like I've got a plan for the week. It's that combination and that philosophy, which is sort of comes out in different waves in the Origami Day philosophy. But it all goes back to the same thing: mindset plus habits.
Totally makes sense. And I like that work-life blend. That does sound better to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And balance is, it's got a bad rap to some people. Whenever I tell people what I do, I get one of 3 responses. 1, I need that. 2, my husband or my coworker or my so-and-so needs that. Or 3, that's not real.
Yeah, definitely. I a lot of times liken it to the ocean, just kind of the ebb and the flow of the ocean. Sometimes there's like a mother effing thunderstorm and it's just all messed up. Yeah. And then other times it's more calm.
And I learned that part about the ocean because I actually use that same analogy when I teach this philosophy. So if you think about it, the waves come in, they hit the sand and they go back out, and they're always coming back in, and they're hitting at different points. You know, when the tide is rising, they're going farther and farther inland. When the tide is receding, they're going farther and farther back out to the ocean. And so in a lot of ways, that's that success formula. That's that balance formula. Is you might do a wave of a surface level mindset plus habits, and then you master that. And then the next wave, you go a little deeper with it. And the next wave, you go a little deeper to where you're always learning. I've been working in this space for almost 10 years now, and I still am developing every day on my mindset and on my habits. And so that is very much like the waves of the ocean. There's always going to be a sweep. There's always going to be a way for us to deepen that understanding and that application in our lives.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Beautiful. Procrastination. I love your viewpoint on this. This is a topic that everybody, I think, complains about or has an idea about, or guilt and shame about. What's your practice and teachings around procrastination?
That's funny. I have a formula for that too. It kind of goes into that same mindset plus habits. So what I tell people is plan plus positive. So a lot of times why we're procrastinating is because we're mentally not able to wrap our brain around what needs to happen. So I'm going to give you a silly analogy, but this is what taught me this method. I hate laundry. Hate it. Don't want to do it. Never want to do it. Want to avoid it like the plague. So what I found was if I told myself, hey, Samantha, you're doing laundry on Saturday, I would write it on my weekly planning sheet and I'd be like, Saturday's laundry day. I can do this. I would get my mind right. I would take the days leading up to Saturday and I would work on mindset. Laundry's not that bad. It's important to do laundry. Wow, I really need clean underwear. It's time to do laundry. So like that mental game, and then make it positive. So that's again, that habit piece. So what I would do is say, when Saturday came and I was mentally prepared for laundry, I'm going to listen to a podcast that I love, or I'm going to treat myself to my favorite coffee drink beforehand, or I'm going to go get lunch at my favorite spot or go hang out with a girlfriend afterwards. It's make that experience positive. So whether it's laundry or a work project, plan it so you can start mentally getting your brain around why it's good to do, how much you're going to crush it, how great the experience is going to be, and then positive. Make the experience actually positive, because we're going through life, whether it's positive or negative. If we can create more positive experiences in our life, then we're going to be happier. We're going to be more fulfilled in our life. And if it's something as simple as listening to the Her Nation podcast while you're doing your laundry, why not?
Fantastic. So make a plan plus
Positive.
a positive treat.
Make the experience positive. Make a Spotify playlist, listen to the music you love and the rest of your family hates. Do whatever will make you happy.
Yes, girl. That is great. Okay. I can conceptualize that. That was perfect. Burnout, especially around the world of entrepreneurship. I know this happens everywhere, but a lot of the women within Her Nation are entrepreneurs. And there's the never ending, right? Because there's always something more to do. I mean, you could literally just keep working 24 hours.
Yeah.
There's always a different part of our business. And women talk about this a lot as far as burnout. What is your tricks up your sleeve in order to avoid burning out?
Yeah, this is one where I could talk a lot about this, like to the point that I actually have a group coaching program specifically to keep business owners from burning out, because it is a super deep well. But the highlights, the most important part, one, we've already covered it, is mindset plus habits. So helping us to understand when we are in a good place, we are an asset to our business, to our team, to our families. When we are stressed out and burnt out, we become a liability. We now are someone who doesn't add value to the team, but is taking away from the team. And so really just helping us understand that self-care is not selfish. It's in fact one of the kindest things we can do for other people, because we show up differently when we're burned out versus when we're in our height, in our thriving state. So it's also understanding the long game. Only 1% of entrepreneurs actually get investment dollars. And so they're the ones who really need to grow something fast. For the rest of us, we're doing it for a lifestyle. And I don't know about you, but I hope to work in my business until my last day on earth. So there's no rush. And so again, it's that mindset saying, you know, I don't have to do everything right now. I get to take my time. I get to build this well and slow and strong, and in a way that also gives me balance. Entrepreneurship has a lot of tough things. There's a lot of things that make it an undesirable lifestyle, but it also provides a ton of great things, like the ability to have balance, autonomy in your day, shifting. You know, I don't ever work Friday past noon if I can avoid it. And I go spend every Friday afternoon at the beach if I can manage. And so that's the kind of stuff that, like, getting my mind around the fact that, like, that's helping me to then show up on Monday and be a better business owner. That is a huge thing, that philosophy. But more tactical things. Every Friday, have a weekly wrap up and make your plan for the following week. That's something that's very simple for people to do. It helps you to get all your ducks in a row before you take your weekend off. And it helps you to not have those Sunday scaries, because when Sunday night comes or Monday morning comes, you have a plan, you can hit the ground running, and you're able to do the things that you have to do as well as the things you want to do. Again, you can see that I could talk about this for days. So maybe I'll pause there and see what your thoughts are on those rants.
Yeah, I think that the thoughts behind that are phenomenal. I appreciate the visual around, first of all, beach on Fridays. But even just the more that we're talking about the Sunday scaries, and really acknowledging that if we plan our Monday or, you know, majority of our week, the ability to be able to show up fully and authentically and enjoy our Sunday.
Yeah.
Because then there's no worries.
Right. And I think that there's this fear in planning because plans change, and the whole global pandemic just kind of made people scared of planning. But the reality is it's easier to change a plan than not have a plan at all. And when we plan, especially if we can plan a loose plan for an entire week in advance, then we move from a place of reactiveness to a place of proactiveness, where we're not just shooting the snakes closest to us first, but we're able to focus on a task at hand. Like, I don't care what's happening on my device right now. I don't have any emails or deadlines that are distracting me. I'm 100% focused on our conversation, Sabrina, because I made a plan that allocated this amount of time for us to talk. And I know that the other things also have their time allocated, you know? So like, I think what happens is, because we don't plan when we're going to do the work tends to try to creep into our subconscious mind. As humans, we open loops and we need to close loops. So when we don't have a loop closed, it really permeates our thoughts. So this is a psychology behind, if you don't finish a project at the end of the day, have you ever then dreamt about that project? Or then, like, it's sort of in the back of your mind, you're thinking about it. It's because you didn't close the loop. You didn't give yourself a chance to separate from it. You didn't say, okay, I've done everything I can do today, and I'm going to hit this again tomorrow morning. And so that loop remains open. And it's almost like apps running in the background. And you don't ever have the chance for your brain to fully recharge. But the reality is, so much of time management is energy management, because we are humans. We work off of energy. We use it, we lose it. And if you really think about, Newton's law of gravity, he was resting under a tree when the apple fell and hit him. It was only because he was in a state of rest and recharge that he was able to have such a critical epiphany that he spent months trying to figure out, in a tired state. Anyway, again, I'm getting ranty. I love time management, but all this is to say, like, for business owners, especially, we have to prioritize rest and recharge, because you wouldn't use your phone all day, every day without charging it. So we have to stop doing that to ourselves. That creates terrible outcomes, and we show up haggard. And that's not why we became business owners.
Yeah, definitely. Can you talk more about this scared of planning? I relate a lot to this, not myself, but my fiance. I'm a total planner. Like, I get frustrated if there's no plan. Like, I low key don't even want to participate.
Yeah.
There's no plan. One of the biggest things when we first started dating 6 years ago is, the weekends. And, I would work 7 days a week. I mean, I love building my business. I'm obsessed with it. I love getting on calls with people and explaining, what we're doing here in her nation. It's just everything to me. And at the same time, I do appreciate some time off. I do appreciate hanging out at the beach. But when I hang out, like when I do my downtime, there's still a plan.
Yeah.
So I still know, that I'm going to be at the beach from 8 a.m. till noon. Then I'm going to get a pizza. We're going to hang out. We're going to eat pizza from 12 to 1. And then we got to run to the bank. And so it's like it's still very structured.
Yeah.
And he's not like that. So I have had to compromise where, I still get my work done. So I do half days. I have my Saturday full, then we hang out in the afternoon, and vice versa. And then leave that space open and have absolutely zero expectations of literally anything. Make sure I have snacks.
Oh gosh, we're like,
because if I can have snacks, then I can calmly participate in whatever shenanigans is going on, and just to lose all the expectations up. So this scared of planning. So I've talked about this because I'm a freak, and in a good way. I don't see it as a negative at all. And he is the exact opposite. And we have talked about this, and I'm like, what is the deal? Like, why can we not just have even loose, like beach morning? Pete, and he says the same thing, that planning is scary. And he has decided that there has been several situations where he plans were all messed up, and then the plans fell through, and then it was so devastating. So then he would rather not plan. So go ahead.
And there's someone listening to this and they're like, yes, I'm him. Or there's someone listening to you talk about the way you plan your day. And I hear you talk about that, and I'm like, same, that's me, including the snacks, which I've got a story for you at another time. But there's someone who's like, oh my gosh, no. So you kind of already touched on what I think part of it is, and it all goes around expectations. So first of all, we're all different people, and we all have, whether it's the Myers-Briggs or 4 tendencies, there's tons of assessments, Enneagram, all that kind of touches on who we are in our default state. And so some of us default to planning, and that could be because when our DNA was formed, that's just how we were, or we had life experiences that made us want more order in the chaos. So there's definitely some of us who we crave planning because it's a sense of, for me, I deal with a lot of anxiety naturally and through life. And so one of the things that lessens my anxiety is planning. And so I found that to be something that really brings me peace to plan. But that's because I'm a person who likes to know expectations. What are the expectations of myself and what are the expectations of other people? And so some people, though, expectations create pressure. So they don't like the expectations. So for you, you're clearly someone who likes to set the expectation. For yourself, like I'm going to go to the bank. With others, we're going to go out. And so what you've even mentioned, what your pivot, planning the first part of your day and then leaving the second part open, you've still created an expectation. You've said the second part of my day, my expectation is to just be okay with whatever happens with my man, and that's that expectation. So I think the first part of this is for anyone who's listening, whether it's yourself or a life or work partner, because just so you know, I believe that we are one of those two people and we marry the other one. Like my husband is your guy. Like I joke that I started a time management business so I could get my husband to manage his time better. But I think it's figuring out, what is your relationship with expectations? Do you crave them or do they stress you out? And then if you're someone who craves them, whether for yourself or for other people, work on how can you communicate expectations with that work or life partner. So helping your man understand, I need expectations to feel comfort. Expectations help me move through my day. So you may not be comfortable with planning, but I need you to understand that I'm comfortable with planning and I, in fact, need planning. So can you communicate the expectations to me, or I'm going to communicate my expectations to you, even if you don't want to put them on your piece of paper. This is what I'm doing and this is my plan. Just communicating those expectations will help. If we want to help those non-planners get more comfortable with planning, I'm going to tell you what I've already told you, which is success is mindset plus habits. So helping to figure out, there's something that's making him scared of planning. Mm-hmm. So how do we figure out what that is? Ask questions, dig a little deeper, do some self-reflection, and help him reframe that through cognitive reframing and help him understand how planning equals freedom. One of my favorite quotes is by a guy named Michael Hyatt, who says, what gets scheduled gets done. And I love that as a type A. I'm sure you love that as a type A. But I would say that to my husband and he's like, okay, I get it on paper, but I can't do that in my life. And so it's helping those people who are scared of planning to reframe and understand that planning equals freedom, because you get stuff done you have to do, and then you've got the surplus of time for things you want to do. I work a lot with creatives, artists, makers, and that is a thing we talk about a lot, because a lot of the creative community is like, I don't plan. But it's helping them understand you don't have to plan everything down to the letter. But let's have a loose expectation for your day, because it's going to help you to just move through it again in a more proactive versus reactive way. So I think I've just said a lot of things to you, but in conclusion, communicate expectations with yourself, with others, and then really help those people who are afraid to understand, why are they afraid of planning, help them to reframe and then build habits to help them do their version of planning. Planning is a spectrum too. You and I are clearly very detailed planners. I joke, people think it's crazy. I write down, I paint my nails a lot for self-care. That's how I wind down. And my sheet for the day will say paint nails. And people are like, really? You write that down? I'm like, yes, because I want to set that expectation with myself. And then I want to cross it off and experience the endorphin release that comes with crossing things off a list. Yeah. But no one has to plan that aggressively if they don't want to. If you just have a loose idea, like Friday, I'll go to the bank at some point. Now, I believe the more detailed the plan, to a certain extent, the more peaceful the day. But that's then
you can go in order.
Yeah, at least
so if you're heading to the beach and the bank is on the way, then you can do the bank, then the beach.
Yes, that's me. I'm so strategic. You're just obviously another strategic person.
But I need to do it down to the right hand turns. Yeah. Like when I'm planning out my day, where are the right-hand turns? Because it takes longer to go left than it does to go right.
Yeah.
So even if it's like driving down the road and I have to go to the bank and it's closer, but it's on the left, I'll hit all the stuff on the right first. And then when I'm on my way back, hit all the stuff on the right back.
So someone hears that and they're like, wow, I hear that. And I'm like, obviously. Like, but it's again, we're all different. And so it's helping to understand what is your relationship with expectations and what is your partner's relationship with expectations. And then bridging that gap, communicating the expectations within that relationship. And that's not just personal relationships. That matters with coworkers, business partners, vendors. Yeah. Communicating expectations is one of the most efficient things you can do.
Speaking to people who do not have the same thought process as what we're talking about here, what is your opinion or advice, I guess? I don't know. I'm going down this like rabbit hole of, and this is just like ego coming out right now. So apologize in advance for everybody listening. But to me, success monetarily is more strategic. It's more planned out. It's more set in stones, 1, 2, 3s in order to create the rhythm of money. Does that mean that somebody who's creative, who's more in a flow state can't make money? No, but I feel like if there was a strategic plan of a foundation underneath that creative, there could be more money flowing in.
Sure.
What's your thoughts on an individual who's listening to us right now that's just rolling their eyes like crazy? And I want to say helping them realize, but that just sounds like so rude. Realizing the importance of this in order to maybe partnering with somebody, right? Hiring somebody, getting a coach like yourself in order to create this in their business.
Sure. Yeah.
Do they need it? Like, is this stupid? Like, somebody who's listening right now, who's more of this flowy, could they just swipe away? No big deal. Would they benefit monetarily if they did in some way link up with somebody who was more? What's your thoughts on that, I guess?
Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts on that. I guess the first would be, what is success to them? Because not everyone cares about financial success. Okay. And so there's that, like, I think you can always make more money. You can never make more time. So some people are like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur because I just like the schedule. I don't care if I still qualify for government cheese, like it's what do you want? And the other thing is, if you are not unhappy, people come to me often and I know right away if I can help them or I can't. And the people I can help are the people who want to be helped. There are people who are perfectly content in their life of what I would call chaos. And that's fine. I don't have to live in their life of chaos. Now, when their chaos has a negative effect on me, then I have to establish boundaries. And then they might decide, okay, maybe I should consider my chaos because it's hurting some of my relationships. Okay. But I am never one to tell people, because I plan, you have to plan. Like, obviously I believe in planning. I have seen the value in planning, but it's not for everyone. However, for those people who are in their chaos and they're like, oh my gosh, my life is chaos. I don't want it to be this way, but I really have no idea how to do it. Like, I think what I'm doing is good, but I don't know. Think about friction. So you can go through your day, past me, workaholic me, pre-enlightened, pre-surgery me. I was getting stuff done. I was absolutely getting stuff done. But I was doing it in such a friction-filled, chaotic way. Like, think about a duck on a pond. The surface, they're smooth, but underneath they're just like pedal, 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 pedal. And like, that was me. I was burning myself out just to have a smooth appearance. Okay. But because I was fighting so much friction. So because I was living a reactive life, everything was harder than it needed to be. So going to the bank, trying to go to the beach, and then having to stop at the bank, it was just like, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh my gosh, I have to drive across town. Oh my gosh, my gas light is on. Here's a great story. I had a company car that they gave me gas cards. So they paid for my gas. I ran out of gas on the side of the road with gas cards in my car, surrounded by gas stations, because I was such a tornado and I was late to a meeting and I needed to pick up lunch. So that's the kind of stuff, like when we plan, when we are proactively, when we see the things coming, we're just removing friction. We're just making it a little easier to do the things we have to do. It doesn't mean we have to write down when we're going to paint our nails. That's stuff you and I can just enjoy. But for those who are not quite at our level of type A planning, we just want to plan enough to reduce the friction so we don't find ourselves in states of chaos all the time. Because here's the thing, our body doesn't know the difference between that sort of stimulus, I'm running out of gas, or, oh my gosh, a bear is going to try to eat me. So biologically, we experience the same releases of chemicals within our body. We have that same fight or flight reaction, which studies have shown us constant fight or flight reactions create higher levels of stress, higher levels of physical issues down the road. So like this whole, and I won't say on this soapbox long, but this whole like societal American dream where we're all having high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes and a plethora of physical problems. So many of those things have been traced back to emotional and physical or mental stress. And that stress is being created when we live a reactive life of friction versus a proactive life of peace. So again, this is where I get real soapboxy and I zoom it out and I say, listen, planning is not just to help you get your stuff done. Planning makes your life better and smoother, and it puts you in a better state for the long haul. I don't know if that answered your question or if it just sent me down a whole nother rant about how great planning can be. So if people aren't sure that they want planning, like, do you feel like your life is full of friction? And if it is, okay, let's start talking about how to plan. If you're like, my life is smooth and I'm great, cool, don't plan. Do what you're doing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, most people are that first group.
Yes, I agree. Whether they want to admit it or not.
Yes. And those people, listen, I wasn't going to change my life. Getting my chest cut open was not even my first near-death experience. I also jumped off a cliff and broke a bunch of bones in my back and almost died that way. So like, I was missing the memo the first time. So like, I wasn't ready to hear the message until the second thing. So, people, we got to wait for them to be ready. And that's why, like, if someone's not ready, I just want to make sure they know that when they're ready, I can help them. But until then, like, good luck to you. I'm going to enforce my boundaries so you don't cause waves on my pond. But like, when you're ready, we're here.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. As we're closing up here, I'd love for you to touch a little bit on open and close loops. Mm-hmm. And specifically around projects that you can't necessarily close, right? It's ongoing. How do we close it? Like, how do we close an unclosable loop? Like if I'm in the middle of a project, like for instance, right now I'm in the middle of writing a speech. It's due in November. I give it in November. I'm starting now, but it's like a continuous thing that I'm going to be working on for like a few months now. How would I close that? Like, what's the concept behind that?
Yeah, it's actually not that hard. Mindset plus habits. So you might establish milestones for yourself and say, or you set an expectation with yourself. This week, I'm going to do this much work on it, write however many words, spend however many hours, or get to a certain point. Or, you create a mindset, create an expectation with yourself, or a milestone, create an expectation. This is what I'm going to do. And that is the point you get to that closes the loop. And then you say, okay, cool. Then your habit. And then the next week, this is what I'm going to pick up on next. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So you kind of have this loop. I'm not necessarily thinking about the whole staircase. I'm just thinking about the next step on the staircase. Okay. And I'm going to take the next step. And then I'm going to say, Sabrina, good job. You hit that milestone, loop closed. And then you have a habit, your weekly plan for next week, where you've allocated the next block of time where you will tackle the next step on the staircase. So instead of jumping the staircase from bottom to top, which is what a lot of people want to do, you're simply identifying the rungs, the steps, the treads on that staircase, and you're just taking them one at a time. And each step is a loop you close.
Yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely. That was fantastic. Because I think that hits a lot of entrepreneurs in general. We want to start new endeavors. We want to do a new program. We want to open up a CRM. We want to learn something new in our business and how to do in order to expand. But the thought process of it is just so enormous that it's hard to even start.
Yeah. Think about a staircase.
This is great. Yeah. Because this allows somebody just to dive in step by step, and over the course of time, be able to finish, the entire whatever it is.
Yeah. And then they can take their long game, and they just have to take it a week at a time, a step at a time, a day at a time. Like that's the beauty of traction, is you just take it into small bites.
Beautiful. I love that. First of all, those of you watching live, thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us. Those of you watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay before, or so we can show you some love in the comments. I do want to ask Samantha, as we're closing up here, I mean, it's obvious what you are good at and what your business is, but if you could do us a huge favor, there's a ton of people watching live right now, and just kind of dive into what exactly you do exactly, and who should be reaching out to you. What type of person should be reaching out to work with you?
Sure. So besides ranting about my passion for time management and work-life balance, what I do is I sell the products that I created through retail partners and directly to individuals through my website. I help individuals, a lot of business owners, to be honest. I also work with a lot of clergy and sales teams on how to manage their day. So people who have autonomous days, how do you take your freedom and how do you make it strategic to get your stuff done in a peacefully productive way? I also train teams and speak at conferences to just help people understand the power of planning and how they can avoid Sunday scaries by something as simple as making a plan every Friday. So people can always find more at origamiday.com. And that is a place where they can also get the free weekly planning sheet. And if everyone ignores everything else we talked about, they should go get that free weekly planning sheet and this Friday make a plan for next week, because that will help them to avoid Sunday scaries and start living proactively and peacefully.
Where is that?
They can either go origamiday.com or they can go weeklysheet.origamiday.com.
Ooh, okay. I'm on Origami Day under resources. Is it?
Oh, yes. It is in there. There's also an entire tip library where people can read more about the things that we talked about. The sheet should be there under resources. It would be under downloads.
Free weekly planning sheet.
Yep. You can also get that if you're right on the homepage. You do right on the front part. It says free weekly planning sheet.
Beautiful.
And that also does get you on my newsletter. And for people who are like, nope, can't have any more emails, I only send an email once a month. And I send it. It always has the same sections. It has a tip, an action, resources, like things that I think are worth the time, and then a quote to consider. So it's a great newsletter, just once a month, something to just really help you recalibrate every month when you start to kind of spin away from balance.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Yeah. So on her website, which if you just go, it's underneath her name, Origami Day, and you go to resources, you can find it, or I put the whole link in there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can sign up. Your email and your name will get you the download. That is so cool. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. Okay. So where can people find you? Where do you hang out the most? Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, where are you at?
Kind of none of them. I guess LinkedIn more than the others. And on all the handles, I'm the Samantha Lane.
Okay, perfect.
But usually I'm hanging out off my phone at the beach reading books.
I love it. So predominantly LinkedIn if they wanted to catch some of your content. Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
And why do you do what you do?
Because I want people to understand the value and the finite nature of the time. I think we forgot how critical and important our time is. We think we need to keep up with the Joneses when really I don't think we're here for that. And so I just really have a passion for people to reclaim their lives. And I think planning is the way to do it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was absolutely enlightening. So appreciate it. But good for all types, right? It was reassuring for me. And really the connection there of all the things. And then, for those of you that are feeling a little bit of chaos, make sure you link up with Samantha. If you resonated with all her goodness, she's origamiday.com. And she predominantly hangs out on LinkedIn. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure we all continue to rise. Any closing thoughts, Samantha, as we close up?
No, just you can do it. And thank you for having me, Sabrina. But Women, you can do it.
Yes, we got this.
Yeah, totally. All day long.
That brings us to the end of another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our amazing guest speaker, Miss Samantha Lane, for sharing her wisdom and inspiring us all. To each and every one of you, our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying until the very end. Your support and engagement means the world to us. Remember to follow, like, and share this podcast. Join me again for our next episode for more captivating stories and enlightening thoughts. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to have transformative conversations like this. Until next